Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss under e-business, that is online transaction and safety and security of e-business. Before in this topic what we learned, let's revise it. We said e-business refers to carrying out the business activities with the help of internet. Means whenever the business activities are carried through the internet, that is called e-business. And then we discussed the scope, opportunities or the advantage of e-business. Today we are going to discuss about online transactions. As you people know, what is online transactions? As you are buying the goods, as some people are selling the goods with the help of internet. So how the people, how the customers, how the business organizations are doing online transactions, let's understand how these activities takes place. In online transactions, the first activities takes place that we call registration. Here you not need to get confused. Generally people get confused. Sir, first we search the product or we do registration? Here you need to understand, whenever buying activities takes place, in such a case, the first process involves which we call registration. Under registration, the buyer provides the complete informations about the product which he wants to buy, about the address, about the locations. All these activities are mentioned under registration. If you have experience regarding registration, you have learned that first of all we need to provide name, address, email ID, phone numbers, locations, PIN code. All these process involves under registration. So in the simple sense, if we need to describe, registration means under this process the buyer makes registration with the online vendors, means online sellers. This process we do with the help of registration. After registration, the second process starts, which we call placing order. Means after registration, the buyer place the orders. Now the question comes, sir, how buyer place the orders? Before this, one activity involves. That activity we call shopping cart. You may have seen the corner, right side of the top of the corner of the websites, you can see such kind of figure is shown. This we call shopping cart. Means whatever the product buyer wants to buy, he picks up from the website and drops under the shopping carts. So it means here what we need to understand, whatever the products are available under the shopping cart, it means the buyer is ready to purchase the goods. So here what we need to understand, whatever the products are available under the shopping cart, under placing order, the buyer place the orders with the online vendors. Now the next process comes, that is called payment mechanism. Means after registrations, after placing orders, the buyer has so many opportunities, so many ways through which the buyer can make payments. And among these, the first method comes, which we call COD. You have heard these words many times. COD, cash on delivery. What is cash on delivery? Under this process, the buyer makes payment of goods when the goods are delivered to the buyer or buyer's doorsteps. So under this process, the goods are delivered to the buyer and the buyer makes a payment that we call cash on delivery, which we call code. Next, through checks. The check is also the medium through which the buyer makes a payment to the sellers. Under this process, the seller makes arrangement to collect the checks from the buyers. The seller sends some representative to collect the checks from the buyer before delivery of the goods. This process we call payment through the checks. Similarly, net banking transfer. I have explained you before under electronic fund transfer system. Under electronic fund transfer system, the funds get directly transferred from buyer's account to the seller's accounts. Means under this process, the buyer can directly transfer the funds from his account to the seller's accounts. That we call net banking transfers. Along with this, there are others which we call credit cards and debit cards. Means under credit cards and debit card, these are also the medium through which the buyer makes the payments. Debit cards and credit cards, I explained you. Under credit cards means the credit card is the facility in which the buyer can purchase the goods from the seller. The bank makes payments against the buyer to the sellers, and the buyer makes payment to the banks. That process takes place later on. So these facilities are available under the credit cards. And you know about the debit cards? Debit cards is the facility under which the buyer makes payment up to the balance which is available in his accounts. That we call the debit cards. Means with the help of credit cards and debit cards, the payment can be made to the sellers. Similarly, nowadays into the market, it is very famous that we call digital cash. Here what we need to understand, this cash does not exist physically. This cash exists only under the cyberspace. Means what you need to understand, some softwares are available, some programs are available which convert the physical cash into the digital cash. Or we can understand it's a electronic currencies. So with the help of digital cash or with the help of electronic currencies also buyers, sellers can be paid. This process comes under the digital cash. You know, in the market there are various digital cash softwares are available such as Paytm, Amazon Cash, Freecharge. These activities are considered under the digital cash. So these we discuss about the online transaction, how the online transaction takes place. Along with this, let's understand safety and security of e-business. As you know, e-business involves generally the two kind of risk. One, transactional risk, and data storage risk. Under transactional risk, here we need to understand, under transactional risk, there are three risks involved. These are the number one. The first one is default on delivery, default on payment, default on order taking and giving. Let's understand what it says. Default on delivery means sometimes the product may deliver to the wrong address. This we call default on delivery. Generally what happens, the product is purchased by some particular persons and delivered to some other persons. In such a case, look at this, the buyer faces the loss. So means that similarly what we need to understand, sometimes the product may reach or the product may deliver to the wrong address. This is called default on delivery. Similarly, default on payment. Sometimes the buyer denies that the seller has made the payments. Means here you need to understand, one side the buyer makes a payment, another side the seller denies that he has received the payments. In such a case, the buyer faces the what? The problem of loss. Similarly, this we call default on order taking and givings. In this, what we need to understand, sometimes the buyer denies that seller has placed sometimes the seller denies that buyer has placed the orders. Means here you understand, sometimes what happens, you are placing the orders, you get confirmed you have placed the orders, whereas the seller denies, means seller has not received the orders. So such kind of risk involves under transaction risk. Similarly, the data storage risk. Here you understand, under data storage risk, generally two kind of risk involves, that we call virus. Another one is we call hacking. In this, what we need to understand, under data storage risk, we need to understand the two problems always rises. This we call virus and hacking. What is virus? Virus means vital information resources under siege. Means in this, what you need to understand, sometimes these programs which are created by the hackers, these programs enter into the websites, these programs enter into the floppy, enter into the computers, and these programs replicates itself, it performs itself, and due to this there is a chances of loss of information, there is a chances of what? Misuse of information, there is a chances of loss, there is a chances of what? Destruction of informations that we discuss under the virus. Similarly, we have another problem that we call hacking. Hacking means unauthorized entry into the website. Means sometimes, look at this, outsiders is not allowed to enter, not allowed to write, not allowed to delete or edit the informations which are available in websites. And these hackers, what they do? They enter into the websites and they steal the informations, and such informations are sensible. Such informations are very important for the organizations. Now the question comes, how these problems can be solved? Now here, these problems can be solved with the help of credit card authorization and credit card authentication. And the next one is settlement. Under credit card authorization, what we need to understand, under credit card authorization, this process checks whether the credit card number or the debit card number which is provided by the buyer, whether these are valid or not. This process checks, that we call credit card authorization. Credit card authentication means what? This process checks whether the required amounts are available in buyer's account or not. This credit card authentication process checks. Similarly, the settlement is the process when the goods are delivered to the buyer. Look at this here. Under settlement, when the goods are delivered to the buyers, then buyer's bank releases the funds to the sellers. This process we discuss under settlements. So means these default and delivery, default and payments, default and order taking and giving, these problems can be solved by credit card authorization, credit card authentication and settlement process. Now the question comes, how these virus and hacking problems can be solved? There are the methods, there are three ways this problem can be solved. First method, that is called by setting up of special crime cell. Here you need to understand, the government has set up a special crime cell to see these unwanted and unnecessary activities. So here the government has established such organizations who see these activities. So if the buyer finds such problems, they can contact to a particular special crime cell so that these informations can be stopped. Similarly, The another method which we call, the first method here I say, to you, special crime cell. Second method is encryption. Encryption means I discussed you under the communication process. Encryption is the process of converting the message into the code so that other party may not understand. So here what we can do? So it means here if the informations are coded in different languages, these may not able to understood easily to whom? To third parties. So in such a case, by establishing encryption also this problem can be removed. Next one is this we call digital signature. Digital signature is the method under which the coded digital certificate is issued by certification authority, which helps to check the identity of the buyers, whether the buyer belongs to a particular area, whether the buyer is buying the products or not. These informations are checked under digital signatures. So my dear students, today we discussed about online transactions, how the online transaction takes place, and we discussed the what kind of problems rises in e-business and these problems, how these problems can be solved. So for today, this much. You revise regularly, you revise these information, what informations I explained you, and timely ask your problem so that we can solve. For today, have a great day.